The co-op here was set up originally when we opened up Minnesota New Country to make teachers truly be professionals. So to give them ownership over what goes on. We thought if a teacher became an owner, they would act a whole lot differently than if they are an employee. I think to give teachers more responsibility, and in return they have more flexibility, is huge. The whole group makes a decision. If the group decides everyone's staying until 5 o'clock at night, everyone stays till 5 o'clock at night. And because you're an owner, you know that you need to do that in order to make this place work well. The teachers here have control over everything. So the personnel team takes care of hiring and firing. The building and transportation team looks at setting up the contracts for transportation, makes decisions within the building. You know, last year we decided to carpet the full building. So they make that decision, bring it back to the full team, everyone votes on it, and then I fill out the paperwork and make sure it gets sent into the state. So the only time probably that I might step in as a licensed administrator is to say, whoa, that's a health and safety issue that we cannot step on, or that might be a liability issue that we don't want to go there. So we want everyone here, whether you're licensed or non-licensed, to be a leader on site-based management teams. Teams will make decisions to take care of some of the time that would be involved if you had 21 people making the decisions. They'll bring a recommendation back to the full group, and then we do a 5-to-5 vote. It's not always as efficient to have a whole group make decisions because it takes time. But I think in the long run, the buy-in is there if you have the whole group make the decision. So even though it's messy as you're making the decision, the long-term benefits far outweigh the time that you're going to spend in trying to come up with a consensus agreement. Wonderful. That's about as easy as I can say it. Working as a principal in a very traditional district, you were kind of in charge of everything. You were the hit man if anything went wrong, or you took the hits, I should say. When you move into a school setting like this and everyone has a say in it, then all of a sudden everybody pitches in, everybody's really willing to work in one direction with one focus. They're willing to probably put in more hours if need be, and with that then they get more flexibility. Everyone picks up a piece and chunk of what happens, and I think because of that are willing to put in more time and more effort because they really do own what goes on here. And if you have something to say, it's very easy to say here because everybody feels, I believe, that they're being heard. And that doesn't happen all the time. You know, in traditional districts, as a teacher in one for 17 years, I could go in and plead my case to the principal or the superintendent, and it didn't really make any difference at all. I think being able to be in charge of hiring that whole team right from the beginning, and you know, as you set up that school and you set up that team, you put in people that you know you can trust, and you have the ability to say to someone, you don't fit the philosophy of this school. If you truly want a school to move in a positive direction, you need to have everybody on the same page. I think some principals and superintendents have a tough time giving up that power. You know, they've worked hard to get there. They've worked hard to get the power. They don't want to give it up. Sometimes they question whether teachers will keep the best interests of students in mind or will put their interests first. I think by giving everyone control in the building and not putting it on one person, you know, all of a sudden they feel the ability to be more engaged and everything else. If you do the same thing to kids, the kids are going to become more engaged, feel more ownership. So we have a student senate here that writes bills, and they present bills to the student senate, and they vote on the bills. So they have a dress code policy, they have, some of the other things. We are the executive branch of Senate, so if it's something really outrageous, the staff can override it. But generally, the staff will do a proposal back to the kids. The kids will go back and, debate it again and bring it back to the staff. So, truly, the kids have a ton of power here. And we say, as long as you're respectful, watch health and safety issues, and responsible, the show is yours here. When we do teacher interviews, we have students sit on the team, we have parents sit on the team, and we have staff sit on the team, and everybody has an equal vote. So all of a sudden, for the kids to say who, after you interview 5 people, who they think should be the teacher is, and they're going, we can really say? And it's like, would you want this person to be your advisor? And if they say yes, it's probably a good fit. No, it doesn't work for all teachers. We had one person who came in who probably had the most amazing resume I've ever read in my life. It was very, very difficult for that teacher to give up control. That person wanted to determine what projects a child was going to do, outline it, and no matter what a child came up with, it wasn't good enough. So, that teacher would go in and completely change everything. That particular person is teaching in an AP IB program right now and doing amazing, amazing work. And that's where that person needs to be, not here. I think the people who come here like change, and they like organized chaos, which is what we are. We have some very concrete sequentials here, but we probably have more abstract randoms because everything here is written in sand. And it needs to be, because if we don't have the flexibility to change with kids, to change with the environment, if there's chaotic things going on in the environment here, we need to address those. And getting through a page in a book is not as important as addressing the social issue that might be going on here. Because if you don't address that social issue, I don't care how many times you have the child read that page in the book, they're not going to get it. Because they truly are not focused on that. And it takes a while to get used to that. Some people just come in and go, oh my gosh. And some of our teachers go, it took me 6 months to figure this place out. And it does. But once they get it, they go, oh my gosh, if they lock me back in a traditional, classroom, I'd go nuts. I got to the point after 17 years of teaching child development, shoot, I didn't even have to open up the book because I knew what page the stuff was on. How boring is that? That's just, ugh. Every day here is a new challenge. I never have 2 days that look the same. When we have visitors come in and say, well, give us a typical day. It's like, we don't have those. Teachers are amazingly flexible. And if they have a good sense of humor, this place is probably the most awarding place in the world to work. I could not go back to a traditional district. I would feel so canned. It would just close in on me. Couldn't do it.